25 years. Not once have we celebrated our anniversary. Not a dinner, not a card, not a happy anniversary. And the worst part? He doesn't even know that I remember every single one. I met my husband when I was 19. Young, naive, and hopelessly romantic, the kind of girl who thought love alone could move mountains. He was older, charming, and carried himself like he already knew the world. I mistook confidence for maturity, sarcasm, for wit and distance for mystery. What I didn't know back then was that I wasn't falling in love with a man, I was falling into orbit around someone who never once intended to meet me halfway. We married when I was 21. The wedding was modest but beautiful. I remember standing there in my dress thinking, this is the beginning of forever. And maybe it was, just not the version of forever I'd imagined. Our first anniversary, he forgot, just flat out forgot. No dinner plans, no flowers. I chalked it up to stress. He's been working a lot, I told myself. It happens, so I let it go. I ordered takeout and we watched TV while I pretended not to care. That would become a tradition of sorts, except I stopped ordering takeout. Year 2, I hinted. I circled the date on our shared calendar. I left a note in his briefcase. Nothing. Nada. By year 5, I stopped dropping hints. By year 10, I stopped hoping. 25 years in, I stopped being surprised. What's fascinating, maybe even a little pathetic, is that I never forgot. Every year, the date would creep up like a bruise I'd forgotten about. I'd remember where we were that day, what I wore, what I cooked, what I hoped for. He, on the other hand, would go about his day as if it was no different than a random Tuesday in March. And to be clear, this man isn't cruel. He doesn't yell, he doesn't cheat. He shows up, pays bills, takes the trash out, mows the lawn. He exists beside me in the way a bookshelf exists beside a chair, useful, dependable, but completely uninvested in the book you're reading. He's just there. But being there isn't the same as being with me. It's a subtle sort of loneliness, the kind that doesn't come with heartbreak or shouting matches. It's the kind where you're sitting across from someone at dinner and you realize they don't see you. Not really. You're a fixture in their life, familiar, reliable, but not treasured, not chosen. What stings the most is how easily people assume everything's fine. We're the stable couple, the ones who made it. Our friends talk about us like we're this great success story, as if surviving this long in the same house means we're winning. But surviving isn't the same as living, and staying isn't the same as loving. For years, I told myself I was overreacting, that anniversaries were just dates, that I didn't need validation from some Hallmark holiday, that real love doesn't require reminders. But the thing is, real love wants to be remembered. Real love doesn't ignore the days that matter to you, even if they don't matter to them. Real love notices. And year after year, I noticed that he didn't. The years unfolded in a blur of routines: work, dinner, sleep, repeat. Birthdays came and went. Holidays were shared with family or spent in the quiet company of the television. And through it all, our anniversary remained untouched, like an unopened letter sitting in the mailbox, waiting for someone who never comes. At first, I tried to create the moments myself. I'd book dinner reservations, buy him small gifts, even write little notes just to remind him what the day meant. One year, I made a scrapbook of our wedding photos and left it on his nightstand with a card. I waited for his reaction. He didn't open it, didn't even mention the card. That was year 8. By year 11, I didn't bother with gifts. I switched to jokes instead. Sarcastic little remarks like, "Guess what today is? I'll give you a hint. It's not your dentist appointment." He'd laugh and say something dismissive like, "Oh, you know I don't care about dates." And then he'd go back to scrolling his phone. I stopped finding it funny around year 15. What's strange is that he's not forgetful in other areas. He remembers to schedule his annual physical, remembers the neighbor's dog's name, remembers to buy milk on his way home, but not our anniversary. Eventually, I wondered if it was personal. Maybe it wasn't forgetfulness. Maybe it was a silent protest, his way of refusing to engage in anything emotional, anything symbolic. He's always been like that, practical to a fault. His love language is fixing things, mowing the lawn, replacing the batteries in the remote before I even notice they're low. He'll vacuum the house top to bottom before guests arrive, but can't say I love you without it sounding like a chore. Still, for all his indifference, he's not unkind. And that's what kept me around. It's hard to justify leaving someone who isn't doing anything wrong, just failing to do the things that feel right. It's like being thirsty in the middle of a rainstorm. Technically, there's water all around you, but you're still dying of thirst. Over the years, I became an expert at acting like it didn't hurt. I developed this weird skill where I could cry in the shower at 6:45 a.m., then serve eggs and toast by 700 with a smile. I'd read articles about emotional maturity and healthy communication. I'd bring up the importance of small gestures in passing. He'd nod, maybe grunt. Nothing ever changed. I even went to therapy on my own. The therapist asked if I'd ever told him how I really felt. I've told him dozens of times, I said. He hears me. He just doesn't listen. And there's a difference. Hearing is passive. Listening requires care. Somewhere around year 20, I stopped waiting altogether. I didn't even acknowledge the date. I treated it like just another day, laundry in the morning, errands in the afternoon. I buried my disappointment in productivity, cleaned out the garage, organized the pantry, vacuumed under the bed. That year, I didn't cry, not even in the shower, and for a moment I felt powerful, detached. Then I realized I wasn't stronger. I was just numb. Friends would ask, "Are you two doing anything for your anniversary?" I'd shrug and say, "We don't really celebrate those," like it was a mutual decision, like I wasn't quietly mourning something that never got to exist. People love to say, "It's just a date." But it's not, it's a marker. A moment of reflection, a chance to say, "We chose each other and we're still choosing." But when one person forgets every single year, it starts to feel like you were the only one choosing all along. It was our 25th anniversary when something inside me finally cracked, not with rage, not with drama, but with this terrifying quiet finality. I woke up, made the bed, fed. The cat went to the kitchen and saw him sitting at the table eating toast like it was any other morning, because for him it was. He glanced up. "Morning, morning," I replied. Nothing else. No flicker of recognition. Not even a pause in the chewing. 25 years. That's silver, right? People throw parties for that. Vows are renewed. Some couples travel to the place they honeymooned. Me, I refilled the coffee pot. I didn't say anything all day. I waited watching him like some sad scientist studying a lab rat. Will he remember? Will the spark fire? Will? He glanced at the calendar. Say something, anything. He didn't. That night we watched a crime drama in the living room. He fell asleep halfway through. I sat there in the dark, the glow of the TV flickering across his face, and I had the strangest thought. If I disappeared tomorrow, how long would it take him to notice a day? 2. Maybe he'd assume I was just upstairs or at the grocery store. Maybe he'd enjoy the quiet. And that's when it hit me, not in a dramatic movie-style breakdown, but in the slow, aching realization I had stayed for a man who would not miss me. I had given a quarter of a century to someone who couldn't be bothered to mark a single one of those years with meaning. What made it worse, honestly, was realizing this wasn't even new. I think I knew deep down all along that from the very first year he forgot I had started quietly grieving the marriage while still inside it. But I kept putting it off, telling myself, maybe next year. And the years passed. I aged. We aged. But nothing changed. Nothing ever did. I thought of all the little anniversaries he'd also missed. The first time I got promoted. The time I passed that licensing exam. The time I lost my mom. He was there physically, but his emotional absence was deafening. You don't notice it at first, you know? The absence. It's not like he yelled or left or betrayed me. He just slowly stopped showing up in any meaningful way. Like a light dimming so slowly you don't realize you're sitting in the dark until you can't read anymore. And then, because the universe has a wicked sense of humor, he turned to me right before bed that night and said, "Did you pay the water bill?" Not "How is your day?" Not "Do you want to go out tomorrow?" Certainly not "Happy anniversary." Just a bill, a task, a checklist. Like that's all I'd ever been to him, his unpaid intern housemate, roommate, wife. I don't know what I expected. Maybe I thought he'd have a surprise up his sleeve after all these years. Maybe I was testing him. But there was nothing. He brushed his teeth, turned off the light, and went to bed. And I sat in the bathroom with the door closed, staring at my reflection. Not crying, just quiet. 25 years of shared space and separate hearts. And suddenly I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad either, I was just done. Not in a blow it all up kind of way. Not yet, but something shifted. The hope was gone, and once hope leaves, there's no going back. That night I slept in the guest room. He didn't ask why. In the morning I made coffee like usual. I set down 2 mugs. He grabbed his without a word. We sat in silence, the air between us thick with the kind of nothing that feels louder than shouting. He sipped, scrolled his phone. I stared at the steam rising from my cup, wondering what it would be like to pack a suitcase and just go. Not in a dramatic slamming the door kind of way. No tearful goodbyes or final arguments, just quietly. A soft exit. I imagined leaving a note on the fridge 25 years. You never showed up, and nothing else. But I didn't, not yet. Instead, I opened my laptop and searched solo vacations for women over 40, baby steps. Because here's the thing, I'm not even sure I want a divorce. I don't hate him. I don't want revenge. I don't want to ruin his life or blow up mine. I just want to feel seen again. He doesn't hit me. He doesn't belittle me. He just doesn't notice me. And sometimes that's worse. I told myself for years that this was enough. That companionship without romance was a kind of success. That not fighting was a win. But I've learned something. Silence can rot a relationship just as thoroughly as betrayal. It just does it slower. I don't know what happens next. Maybe I leave. Maybe I stay, but build a life that exists more outside of him. I don't have a neat little ending tied up with a bow. But I do know this: next year, on our 26th anniversary, I won't be waiting. If he forgets again, well, I won't be surprised. But I won't be disappointed either, because this time I won't be hoping. Maybe that's freedom. Or maybe it's just the beginning of a new kind of sadness. Either way, it's mine now. So here I am, 25 years later, writing this not because I need advice, but because I think some of you might understand. Because I think there are more of us out here than we admit. Not miserable, not abused, just quietly heartbroken. If that's you, I see you. Even if they don't,